Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Shorts Roundtable. My name is Bridget, and I am one of the Filmmaker Conversations production coordinators here at SIFF, and I will be hosting today's talk. We want to take a moment here to offer a special thanks to PNC for sponsoring our Filmmaker Conversations content throughout the festival. On today's roundtable, we will be joined by filmmakers from some of our short films included in our LGBTQ+ themed Outlook Shorts program. With that in mind, allow me to welcome our guest to today's conversations. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, so to get us started, I would like to ask each and every one of you to introduce yourself, the title of your film, your role on the film, and also let us know where you're joining us from today. Megan, we will start with you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Rossman, and I'm the director of Naomi Raplansky at 100, and I'm based in New York, New York.
I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Ivan.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Ivan Hernando. I am calling you from Spain. I am the director and the screenwriter of the short film The Was. And I'm so glad to be here and be part of the Cleveland International Film Festival. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justice Jamal Jones. I am the director and writer of How to Raise a Black Boy. And thank you so much for having me.
Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Schumann. I'm the director of When I'm Her. Very excited to be at the Cleveland Film Festival, and I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York.
Hey, everybody. My name is Kai Thomas. I'm the director, producer, and cinematographer of Queenie, and I'm really excited to have shared this film with you all today.
Hi, my name is Lorena Gordon. I am the writer-director of At Last, and I am based out of Los Angeles, California.
Hi, my name is Martin Azambuya. I am the assistant director and co-creator of the film The Ephemeral, and very happy to be here.
And we are very happy to have all of you here. And please know, we are very excited to bring Q&As this year. So let's start with the first thing I would like to ask is what led to making this particular film and perhaps how you became involved in making it. Megan?
Great. I actually met Naomi Raplansky on the last film that I made, which is The Archivettes, and it showed at SIFF last year, so I'm very excited to be back. But essentially, Naomi is now about to turn 103, which is crazy. But when we shot the film, she had done a poetry reading at the archives and was 100. And I just realized this richness and history was so important that she should be documented. And I was happy that she was willing to let me film her.
What inspired me to make the film? Yes?
Ivan, can you repeat what you just said? I'm sorry.
What is the question? What inspired me to make the film?
Correct. Yeah, what inspired you and how you became a part of it?
The landing, the hall of my house that I share with my neighbors, because one day I told myself, how could I feel it with a neighbor? And I thought, the only thing I share with my neighbors is the clothesline, the place where I hang my clothes. So I started writing a story about a boy and a girl who are neighbors and leave notes between them on the clothesline. But finally, the story ended up starring by two women because it gave me more play to develop the plot of the short film. More or less.
That's good.
Well, How to Raise a Black Boy came together kind of at the peak of the Black Lives Matter situation last year. And well, not situation last year, but situation forever, I guess. And I am also coming out of my my undergrad, and there were a lot of things reflecting on what it means to be a Black boy And then on top of that, kind of trying to understand myself within my gender and my gender expression. And at first it was supposed to be kind of this documentary kind of thing. And I found that some of the most honest and true things for me happen in fairy tales. So it kind of developed into this fairy tale that is dedicated to the younger me.
All these films sound so amazing. I can't wait to watch all of them. So my film, When I'm Her, started a long time ago with me as a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 3, and I actually stopped when I was 16. But the subject of my film was a dancer at the very same studio that launched his career. And you know, later in my life, I saw videos online of Michael Cusimano dressed as a woman. And I was so curious what he was doing. And I was even more excited to see how inspired the dancers were in his classes online, just seeing videos on the internet. So I approached him and I asked him, you know, what is going on here? And, you know, who is this person? And the story seemed really intriguing to me, so we made a film about it, and I can't wait. I can't wait for everyone to see it.
So the idea for Queenie came to me because I was seeing like a lot of docs about like LGBTQ youth, and I felt that like we needed a broader representation of what it means to be an LGBT elder, because elders are just like prone to like isolation, especially if like you don't have a partner or if you don't have a child. So I just began doing research about like what different community groups exist for LGBT elders of color specifically. And then I learned about like the push across the nation in big cities to have affordable housing specifically for LGBT elders. So I started researching which cities and what developments were being made. And I found out about Stonewall houses, which initially was going to be called Ingersoll homes, that was being built, and started, you know, researching and reporting out to find someone that I could document their journey. So I'm really fortunate to have met Queenie, like as a young Black lesbian. I think it's really important to have her in my life as an elder. And I'm appreciative of like the relationship that we've continued to keep since the film is completed.
So At Last is a personal film. In a way, I wish I had a film like At Last when I was a teenager. I was super closeted, and once I was in my early 20s and I felt comfortable in my own skin to tap into my queer identity, I decided to write a coming of age film, kind of like a John Hughes-esque coming of age love story, and coming to terms and accepting, you know, who you are. So it just stemmed from a yearning to see myself represented in my experience represented in film, and what I wish my prom would have been like. If I could, I always say, if I could relive one you know, event in high school, it would have definitely been prom.
So The Ephemeral is actually based on 2 true stories. One of them mine, and one of them Jorge's, that happened on a New York subway, coincidentally, within the same week when we were roommates 20 years ago, going to school. And the experience was that we had a connection. I had it with a woman on a subway, someone that I never got to know her name. There was very little speech. We barely even spoke, but there was I guess you can call it profound connection, really, in this fleeting moment on the subway. And we both felt it. And due to fear, due to many different things at the time, I never got to turn that stone over and ask her name and what she was reading, even though she was, you know, open and in a way communicating non-verbally. And Jorge had a similar experience as well with the man that same week. And so many years later, after several failed relationships on my part, she would continue come to my mind after, in terms of thinking, who could she have been? Who was she? What could this have been or not? And we were in New York about 5 years ago, and I retold him the story again, and he remembered his own. And I remember telling him that this is a short that he should explore doing it. And so several years later, he started to write it, and that's it. We started to put this together after he wrote it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those stories. And then to follow up on that, we would like to know if you learned anything while making your films, any trials and tribulations, or anything fun behind the scenes that you would like to share that they might not know from watching the film. So Megan, back to you once more.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things that stood out to me, not when I was making the film, but now, is that Naomi is actually living through her second pandemic in her lifetime. And I think the main takeaway for me in working on this project, I know, Kai, you had talked about queer elders and how important they are, and I couldn't agree more. I think Naomi is so resilient, and she has taught me to continue that resiliency and to have hope for the future.
Okay, sorry. The language, sorry. I want to explain the title of the short film, because the title of the short film in Spanish is Colada. And colada, it means in Spanish, on the one hand, the was, and in the other hand, to be in love of someone. So it's a wordplay in Spanish. And when we do the translation, we lost that meaning. So, and that's it. And finally, I want to say that it has been difficult to carry on this project, and I'm very proud with the final result. So I hope you will enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Thank you.
I guess what I learned from making How to Raise a Black Boy is that I guess like there is some sort of like it's okay to like fail in certain ways. Right now I'm reading this book by Jake Halberstam, who was once Judith Halberstam. It's called The Queer Art of Failure. And kind of in this piece, I guess with the film, I learned that there's so much more to art than, I guess, like perfection, and especially telling a story that is like both Black and queer. There's going to be, I guess, pushback, and there's going to be like triumph, like tribulations. And I guess like one thing I guess people wouldn't know about the film is that the person that is in the mask in the basement of my film is actually me, because we had some casting situations that had to be switched up. And so I just decided to do it myself. And that's kind of, I guess that adds a little bit more to the film, kind of about like facing your own fears and realizing that the person that's really stopping you is you.
So many surprising things when you're making a documentary, and I think that's the best part, is that you just really never know what's going to happen. I mean, and as a director, producer, I love predictability. So I sort of had an idea why my subject had an alter ego, although he didn't really know yet. And I think an amazing part of the film is that Michael and Olga sort of converge in this really beautiful moment where they both understand why they came to be and why they need each other. And I think if I had forced that moment as the director, I wouldn't have gotten, that raw, just unraveling right in front of me, in front of the camera. So I think that's a really special thing about documentaries, and just letting things happen the way that they're supposed to. So I'm very, very grateful to be in this group and to be in this art form.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Emily. I can attest that I also am a fan of predictability, but I think in shooting Queenie, I definitely learned about patience. So the bulk of the filming happened over the course of 3 weeks. So I was going to her apartment Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, because we were waiting on this phone call from the city to see how her housing situation would turn out. And I remember as a filmmaker, like being in the presence of an elder just takes like a lot of like patience and care. And there was one day where I was just like, I cannot go, like I am burnt out. And of course, like the one day I don't go is when the phone call happened. And just like learning to how can I restructure the story to still show that this important moment happened, even though I wasn't there to visually capture it, is something that I learned a lot. And like what you said about predictability, as documentary filmmakers, you go into a story feeling like, okay, this is kind of the trajectory of the story. This is why I'm telling it. This is kind of what I imagined. And I had imagined that it would be a simple process. Like she'll just end up moving into this new housing development. And like that isn't what happened. And it just showed like her resolve as an individual and like the decisions that she's able to make for herself. So I am really appreciative of this project and I'm really proud of it.
So for us, a surprising thing that surprised me was at the end of the film, that scene at the rooftop with Zach and Katie, when she's coming out to her dad. We shot that in downtown Los Angeles. And up until that point, as the writer, director, and producer, one of the producers, it's all, you're so in the moment, you have to get your days. And up to that point, I didn't realize how long we had come, with the inception of the story, probably like a year prior to us shooting, that we had this dream cast, and, my cast and crew were there, and I felt so infinite, looking at downtown LA. And, when Katie had that conversation, I remember after the first take, I went up to her and Zach, and I was just crying because I couldn't believe how emotional this was, that it had come from a place of me wanting to give my, teenage self something to feel less alone and feel like my experience is valid. So I didn't realize how emotional that moment was going to be. And that moment, I think, solidified a trust in Katie as her director, and letting her go to this place and letting her know that I was creating a safe environment for her to go there as an actor.
Well, wonderful, all of you. So a couple of things on our side. One is, I suppose, that there was, like all of us, I'm sure, so much tension on some days in terms of did we get the shot, did we not? For us, really, the 2 nights that we rented up to subway stops on the Madrid line was very intense, because they had people there that, at 5 a.m., period, end of story, you had to get out because the train started to have to run again, whether you got the shots or not. And so there was a lot riding on that. Some mistakes were made when the train would have to start running. Then there was no turning back. We had to do a whole loop. So there were a lot of things building up. And one of the things I learned in a way was that obviously so much it can be done, like in terms of the art form, in terms of what you actually were able to capture and how you are able to put the essence of the message that you want together regardless. So that was an interesting lesson on trusting the process, that no matter what happens on the day of the shoot, that after there will still possibly be a way to give that message out. And then another thing I learned more philosophically, I suppose, with the message of the movie, really, is that letting go, the letting go of this romanticized idea of this woman, in my case, and this man in Jorge's case, of what could have or could have not been, and really facing or looking that I simply don't maybe make that same mistake or approach a situation with the same essence of fears that I did 20 years ago, that I'm still wondering about now. So it's really kind of a seize the moment kind of idea.
Well, thank you all for sharing those beautiful stories. They really are quite touching. I really liked all of the insights and appreciate your time. And we sincerely appreciate it on behalf of SIFF, and allow me to thank you so much for taking the time to join us for today's roundtable from across the world. And we are so excited that you are all able to join us. In addition, we have to thank you, our audience, for joining us for today's Shorts Roundtable. We wouldn't be here without your ongoing support, and we are so happy to be here with you as you bring film home. We hope you'll consider supporting our challenge match again this year, presented by Cuyahoga Arts and Culture. to support the future of our festival. Our goal is to reach $145,000 again this year, and we are so grateful for any amount you're able to contribute. To make a donation or to purchase tickets or check out our full schedule of filmmaker conversations, please visit clevelandfilm.org. With that, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Thank you all again so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.